Sup Internet, welcome to another episode, and by another I mean the very first episode of Cheaper Pop Culture, the show that no one likes on this channel, so I decided to rename it even though it's really just the second episode of Panic Announce Table. Anyway, in an attempt to make this more palatable, I decided that I'm going to switch things up a bit. Last time I gave you a whole bunch of crappy examples of terrible wrestling in TV shows and movies. Not this time. This time I'm dumping it all into one big terrible example, and this one is a doozy. Does anyone say doozy anymore? I mean, that felt weird. Anyway, did you know that wrestling isn't just reserved to making occasional shitty cameos in sitcoms, but it was actually the star of its own shitty sitcom back in the 1980s? What country brought us this situational comedy with professional wrestling as the focus? Well, if you guessed Japan, that's a good guess, but it is wrong because the answer is Canada. Learning the Ropes debuted on CTV in September of 1988, and it starred real-life defensive end and Super Bowl winner Lyle Alzado as the fictional Robert Randall, a teacher/vice principal who moonlights as a professional wrestler. Wait, are you implying that educators are so poor that they need to supplement their income by being a wrestler? Or are you saying that wrestlers are just so poor that they have to become a teacher in order to make ends meet? Wait, no, actually, sadly, both are probably true. Hey, that's weird. I'm surprised that we never actually seen one of those happen in real life. Oh, yeah, right. Okay, moving on. Robert Randall is forced by the school's principal to keep his wrestling career a secret because, with great power comes great responsibility or something. Anyway, in this show, being a wrestler is as shameful as being a porn actor or a hitman or Shia LaBeouf. But the good news, the show actually featured real NWA stars of the time. Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, Ronnie Garvin. In fact, Robert Randall's wrestling character, the generically named Masked Maniac, would be portrayed in the ring by Dr. Death Steve Williams, who allegedly blew out his knee during filming of one of the matches that would be featured in the show. That's right, not even an injury at Starrcade, he got hurt in a show with a laugh track. Robert also has two kids, and just like your average 80s sitcom, the mother is just not in the show. This frees the dad up for shenanigans trying to raise two kids while still allowing him to have romantic subplots, like the one with his fellow teacher, Carol Dixon. And in terms of shenaniganery, the kids know about Robert's double life. His son, Mark, discovered his dad's mask in the pilot episode. Kinda like Mrs. Doubtfire, but without Matthew Lawrence getting traumatized by seeing his dad's junk. I mean, that scene in Mrs. Doubtfire, that never actually happened to Matthew Lawrence in real life. At least not that I know of, and if it did, well then, I am sorry. But while his kids know about this, the school's faculty doesn't, so Robert has to hide his alter ego from the woman he's interested in. Yeah, great way to start a relationship. Ever wonder why your ex-wife left your sorry ass for London in the first place? He just never learns. Odd considering the title of the show. Alright, now in this one episode, hijinks ensues because Robert is throwing a party for his wrestler buddies. Now he can't invite his would-be boo to the shindig, so he lies to her and tells her that it's a funeral. Yeah, this won't possibly backfire in any way.
Carol! What are you doing here?
Miss Dixon!
Oh no. If she finds out Dad's a masked maniac, we're all dead.
She is so caring and supportive that she decides to show up anyway, which results in Robert having to convince an entire party to just play along.
If she talks to you, make sure I'm not a wrestler.
After the beating you took from me last night, that'll be easy.
At this point, why not just tell her? I mean, she's so loyal to you that she would go through all of this. Obviously, she's a sweet and honorable...
You with anybody?
Yes.
No.
Robert! Okay, I'm gonna have some fun. So, big boys, tell me your idea of fun.
I stand corrected. She's gonna have a threesome with the Road Warriors. I mean, can't say I blame her, but she turned on him pretty quick. Seems like she fit right in with the wrestling community. This show's major flaw is the same as a lot of failed sitcom gimmicks. It relies too heavily on its premise. For example, have you ever noticed how there's never been a good sitcom about a restaurant? The reason these fail is because most jokes revolve around knowing the ways of the industry. And if you do know how the business works, the jokes still have to actually be funny, which makes it all the more worse if they're not. Friends, Seinfeld, essentially these shows are about nothing and are all relatable as a result. The Fresh Prince, The League, That 70s Show, they all did well because they found humor and stories beyond their elevator pitch. Now what makes learning the ropes even more guilty is that it also falls victim to another one of my most hated tropes in all of sitcoms. They work off the idea that wrestling is real.
Nice, says wrestling you is like wrestling someone in a coma.
This results in some tired, non-compelling jokes about how tough wrestlers are, which all center around the general principle that they are all cavemen outside of touch with society and act like the love child of Homer Simpson and Taz. The Looney Tune character Taz, not the wrestler. To make matters worse, since wrestling is real in this world, Robert is trying to be the best and to actually try and defeat his other wrestlers. In one episode, Robert gets so angry at his losing streak that he actually goes full-on postal and ends up seriously injuring Jimmy Jam Garvin. The rest of the episode leaves Robert dealing with his guilt, which is odd because if wrestling is real, then shouldn't hurting people be your goal in the first place? Plus, this is the same world where LOD can actually eat glass.
Hey, look, how about a brew? Sounds good. Nothing like a good cold bottle of beer.
So how is tossing someone over the top rope going too far? Now you see, if they stuck with the idea that wrestling is fake and committed to, reality, then sure, this guilt would make sense. But then his motivation is thrown right out the window, so you can't win either way. Now these are just the plots of a few episodes. The show only ran for one season, and that's really not all that surprising. And according to IMDb, other wacky episodic escapades include... Never mind that visual aid, I'll just tell you. They tackle classic sitcom issues like the kids dating, needing money for various reasons, and even the newly formed 80s concept of sexual harassment.
Yes, Dick's been looking forward to seeing you.
Well, damn, Mass Maniac, that seemed a little too on the nose.
Hello, Bobby May.
How unusual. A complete sentence.
Oh, we was talking about Dick Murdoch. Oh, okay. That makes way more sense.
So go!
In closing, Lyle Alzado also got to appear at Clash of the Champions 2 as a way of hyping the show. And just look at this guy. Out of all the football players turned wrestlers that I had to suffer through like Mongo and Kevin Green, why couldn't we get this guy to give it a try? I'm sure with all the NWA professionals around, somebody could have got him to learn the road. You get the idea. Anyway, join me next time on Cheaper Pop Culture when I see if I even still feel like making this show anymore.